Hello everybody and welcome to the latest edition of the Figure Forecast with me, Sam Gardner, and King Damo as always. How are you, Damo?
I'm good. You gave me my nickname back. I took him away last week by accident. You don't want to go by Sammy Drip Drip anymore?
No, I'll happily lose that one. But I think King Damo suits you quite well. So.
Until they do another King of the Ring tournament, I think I'll hold on to that one then.
Exactly. We'll wait another few years for that. But anyway, we're here today to discuss Backlash. A week ago now from when we're recording. Going to have a little discussion about it, what we liked, what we didn't like, and go through the matches and see where we go from there.
Yeah.
In general, pretty good show.
Yeah,
I think
the crowd definitely made this feel like a huge show.
Yeah,
and I didn't really kind of expect that going in.
No,
not that any of the matches didn't feel big, but kind of it wasn't until the SmackDown, seeing how loud the crowd was for that, and then it kind of gave us that extra hype, and yeah, definitely put it up an extra grade, sort of in my.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's an obvious thing to say, but when the crowd's hot like that, it automatically puts sort of every match onto a different level.
Yeah.
And I think what we said on the last podcast coming into Backlash, where you've got a couple of hometown stars that are in big matches, that helps. And they obviously had a couple of surprise returns, I guess you could say, appearances of hometown stars that again sort of added into that. I think that's something that they did really well with the show.
Yeah, I think when you go outside the regular audience for WWE, obviously Puerto Rico is part of the US, but it's they don't go there very often.
No, I think the last one they had, I'm not sure 100%, but I heard was New Year's Revolution.
2005, I think, yeah.
The one where Edge cashed in the first Money in the Bank, and obviously that's years ago now.
But I think when you go away, like it's the same as like kind of when they came here. The crowds just they really get into it. I'm gonna be a little not biased. I'm gonna be anti-biased. I think their crowd was better than the UK crowd because we tend to want to make the show about us a little bit with the crowd. Like we get very loud, but sometimes we kind of take over it a little bit. They were not taking over. They were behind who WWE wanted them to be behind, and they framed the show perfectly around the crowd involvement.
Yeah.
And
they were adding to the matches.
Yeah, didn't take anything away from any of them.
No. Well, the card started with potentially a surprise match. I kind of wasn't expecting it to start with the Raw Women's title match. And it was, of course, Bianca against Io Sky. I guess, as Michael Cole said, it was the coming-of-age match for Io Sky on the main roster, at least.
Yeah.
She's shown this in NXT numerous times. But I think, personally, it was a great match.
Yeah.
The crowd was really behind Io Sky on this one. Perhaps the only one where they wasn't behind the main star, if you want, on the card. But they really invested in Io Sky and added a different dynamic to the match.
I really wanted her to win. I think I predicted her to win.
Yeah, I wanted her to win and I predicted Bianca.
The writing was on the wall when it was announced that Bianca was going to become the longest reigning women's champion in the modern era.
Yes.
As soon as they announced that, kind of, it felt inevitable. Yeah. But I was still believing in the match that it was going to be Io's night.
Yeah, and that's testament to what they did with the match, I think.
Yeah.
They obviously went for the enhancing of the damage control issues in the stable, breaking up, and that was sort of led into what happened on SmackDown as well.
Yeah.
I've been saying for a little while that I think this stable is dead in the water and Bayley needs to turn babyface. I'm not sure if that's the dynamic that they're going to go after this, but they've managed to milk it out a few more weeks and it not to feel completely stale, so fair play to them. But that's obviously what they're going for. I'd love to see Bayley as a babyface again, personally.
They've got a show coming up into the UK. The UK always make Bayley a babyface. Could we see it happen at Money in the Bank?
Quite possibly. Who knows? But we'll see. She obviously cost Io Sky the match at the end with her interference. It looked like Io Sky was going to win. and pin Bianca, and then she interfered, distracted the ref, and then distracted Io, and Bianca picked up the win. But like we say, really good way to start the match.
Yeah.
Start the card, sorry. Crowd was hot, and it sort of led into what happened, the whole atmosphere for the rest of the card.
It definitely set the tone for the night.
Set the tone, that's the phrase that I was looking for. Second match that we had on this card was one that had no build whatsoever, really.
No.
But I think it kind of delivered, and sort of, again, enhanced Seth Rollins as this ring general, in inverted commas, leading Omos in this match. I really think Omos has found a niche. He's really finding a niche in sort of, and finding his role in WWE as this big guy. Yeah, he's playing his role really well, I think.
The only thing with it, and I didn't want either result to go a different way, but he's had 2 big profile matches: WrestleMania against Brock Lesnar and Back-lash against Seth Rollins, and he's lost both of them.
He has, and
that's weird because that's not normally how you book your big kind of monster character. Like he needs some wins, but they keep booking him in these matches where they can't really afford the other person to lose. They need them to win as well, and it's one of those age-old things that WWE book themselves into a corner. But it seems like they're really willingly doing it this time. It's not like they've put them together and realised, oh no, neither of them can lose. It's like, we're going to put them together and we're just going to have Omos lose because he doesn't need to win.
It's a difficult one because he's had kind of that run of beating the jobbers a year or so ago. And he is still very green in terms of his WWE career.
I don't know what... He's a free agent, isn't he?
Yeah.
Could we see an Omos US title run?
See, I can see a title on him.
I think US title is one that makes the most sense.
Possibly, yeah. A bit further down the line, I mentioned it last time, I could see him as the World Heavyweight champion. But I think a title run makes sense, like you say. If he was going through the mid-card and beating them consistently, that gives him a bit more of an aura, a bit more of a standing in the company. And then he comes up against a bigger guy, I should say, and beats them, then there he is. You've got that monster heel.
It's something to keep an eye on as we move into the summer, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him in a US title picture.
Maybe he dethrones Roman Reigns.
I mean, maybe. Someone's got to eventually.
Yeah, he's big. Why not?
I mean, I don't want it, but...
No.
Good win for Seth. It's one of those... we were expecting some big things from him with the announcement of the World Heavyweight title tournament. And kind of he figured out how to beat Omos, and that was kind of the main story of the match, wasn't it? It was just him trying to figure out how to keep the big man down. Yeah. He did it. He got the win, and hopefully goes on to some good things. Yeah,
well, Seth had to win because I think just before he was announced in the tournament for the World Heavyweight title, and looking at the brackets, I think everyone had him as the favourite. So he needed the win going into that. He did. He beat Omos. That comes with something. Good match for what it was. Right result. Next match on the night. A bit of a strange one going into it, and a bit of a strange one on the night as well. The shortest match on the card as well, and it was a triple threat. So we've got the US title match. Austin Theory, Bobby Lashley and Bronson Reed. Now, I'm going to have to go to you on this one for what you thought on it, because frankly, I was asleep, I think, when it happened live. I've watched it back since, but what was your initial reaction to that one?
It's always the problem with watching wrestling live in the UK, that it doesn't take it to drop much for your concentration to go when it's 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever it would have been at that point.
You feel your eyes going, and all of a sudden you wake up and the match is done. And that's what happened to me. Yeah,
this, unfortunately, to all three of the men involved, I was a little bit in the same boat. I was watching, and I just felt like I wasn't taking a lot of information in. And then it was, like you said, it's the shortest match on the card, which as we've got a Brock Lesnar match on this card, is somewhat surprising for a triple threat. I was expecting to see a title change in this match, and we didn't get that. It feels like the Austin Theory title run is just not hitting its marks. Like, the Gunther Intercontinental title match has done great things to that title, and it should have been the same with Austin Theory's one. It looked really strong when it started. The US title was being featured heavily on Raw, but it's just kind of fallen off. And I do worry a little bit about Austin Theory's character, because there's a few guys on the roster that fit that same kind of trope, especially with Grayson Waller. Yeah, just coming up, he's got a very similar vibe about him. So you don't really want Austin Theory to get lost in the shuffle, because when he's got good stuff to work with, he is good.
Yeah. See, I predicted Theory to win, and he ultimately did. Coming off that massive match with John Cena at Mania, I think that under-delivered. But all the same, having him going over John Cena, I feel like you can't have him lose instantly afterwards. But then again, I feel like he's kind of in last chance saloon, because, like you say, it's just so stale.
It's mad to think that he got a month ago, he got a big win at WrestleMania over John Cena, and it feels completely unimportant.
Yeah, it's just so forgettable, isn't it? I don't know who that's on, whether it's the company, whether it's him, possibly a little bit of both. But if he is going to be their next big star, which I think, maybe not their next big star, but a big star, which I think they kind of hoped he was going to be, something's got to change. I don't know what that is, but something's got to change. I think that's probably all we can say on that match.
I think what hurt him was being Money in the Bank during the year-long reign for both titles on the run. Obviously, that reign is still going on, but when they had that plan of Roman holding it for the whole year, being Money in the Bank during that time, like, it was never going to go well for him, because he ultimately had to fail to cash in on Roman or cash in on somebody else, and which is what they went with.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of hurt him.
I agree. If they effectively have him have 2 failed title runs, if you count the Money in the Bank as a title run, I don't know where he goes from there. His character's kind of dead in the water.
He could be within a shout to get Money in the Bank again this year.
I don't think he will.
I don't think he will either, but it could be something that kind of puts a little bit of a spark back.
I don't think you can buy him as like a top star that could win the main title or the World Heavyweight title. I just don't see him as that. And I don't think anyone really sees him at this point.
No.
It's going to be an interesting one.
Hopefully they're able to do something with him, because, like I said, when it's good, it is good.
Yeah.
So.
Let's move on to a really good match, I thought. Short but sweet. SmackDown Women's title, Rhea Ripley, Zelina Vega.
Yeah, this was one to showcase some homegrown talent and further a wider story that was going on, rather than expecting it to be a back and forth, who's going to win kind of match. We all kind of expected Rhea to retain. It would have been a little bit weird if she hadn't, and thankfully she did. But crowd were really into this. The reception that Zelina Vega got when she came out in her flag attire brought her to tears. It's got to be a real good feel-good moment for her to get that kind of reception. Match wasn't anything special, but it delivered what it needed to do as a match. Got a little bit of heat on Rhea, just a little bit for beating the hometown kind of hero, but
well, I say it was a really feel-good match in a way. Because, and it's no slight on Zelina, and I could be wrong, but it's possibly the biggest match that she's going to have in her career. Yeah,
she doesn't wrestle a whole lot. She is talented in the ring, but she doesn't wrestle a whole lot.
She's a better manager than she is wrestler, I'd argue.
Yeah.
In terms of the role that she's been given in WWE. Yeah, I don't think I could say much more about the match in general, but the crowd obviously really helped. And it's just this hometown hero thing that WWE are doing with these themed pay-per-views that is really working well. Get the crowd behind you, it could be a pretty rubbish match, but if the crowd's hot, it just brings it up to that next level.
Yeah.
Obviously, Rhea Ripley winning, correct decision. I think we both predicted that. So let's move on.
Yeah, well, talking about the hot crowd,
God.
It really followed into the next slide. They got hyped up with Zelina Vega, and they were ridiculous for the Damian Priest Bad Bunny match.
Insane, man. That intro by Bad Bunny, it just shows you how much of a star he is. When they all started singing his song, I think I've watched that back about 15, 20 times. Just awesome. I had to show Shannon the next day, like, look at this.
I had a match that had no right to go as hard as it did. A celebrity match that does not feel like a celebrity match. It just feels like a regular underdog match, or like the smaller guy against the bigger guy. But it just happens that Bad Bunny's real job is to be a musician, not to be a wrestler. But
fair play to Damian Priest here. 25-minute match, and it's not a simple match. There's a lot of nuts and bolts that goes into that one. A lot of different spots that are happening inside, outside the ring, and he led Bad Bunny and sort of proved his worth in a way. I think showed how good he really is.
A little bit of a star-making turn for Damian Priest. He's got to be now up there in the eyes of the company.
Well, that's what the reports coming out are saying now, isn't it? That he's seen as a top-level talent, and fair play to him. I think, absolutely right. You could definitely see him having a run with the world title in a few months' time or whatever. Really, go on.
He's on SmackDown. Is he on Raw?
No, I think they're on Raw, right? Yeah. Judgment Day on Raw.
Because Rhea's got the SmackDown title.
On Raw, they're going to have to address that
soon. Nice and confusing.
Really.
World Heavyweight Championship is obviously going to be a Raw title, so he's a potential.
He lost in the qualifier, but he was in the qualifier that Seth was in.
He's got a potential for a feud in there.
You could see him as like a first challenger, couldn't you? That sort of level. Have you seen the memes coming out of it? Like
him talking to
a Kardashian, or is it Kardashian or Kendall Jenner or someone like that?
One of the Jenners.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen. It's been all over wrestling Twitter because
it made me laugh.
What I think is funny is it's not just the typical uninterested woman picture. It's that her expression is like mild shock of what she's being told, which I think just makes it better. Like, she's not uninterested in whatever he was saying. She was just a little bit surprised by whatever he did say to her in that moment, and turning it into a wrestling meme. Yeah, always good for a laugh.
Let's move on to the story that keeps giving. They've got me hooked again. Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. Bloodline against Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Matt Riddle. I think I said it. I'm pretty sure I said it, that they could have Solo win this.
Yeah, well, we predicted that the Bloodline would lose and actually tried to predict who would take the pinfall.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that was a little bit of hubris from us. We thought we were so clever, and WWE swerved us. They had the Bloodline win, but it wasn't a good win for the Bloodline. No. The cracks are massive, and they've continued to grow this week. Over onto SmackDown, they definitely carried on that story immediately. Mm-hmm. I thought when we was watching that we were going to see it. I thought Solo was going to hit the Samoan Spike on.
Very nearly happened
on Jay.
Yeah,
and I would have popped for that. Like you don't, as we were saying, like when you're watching it in the UK, middle of the night, so you're kind of conditioned to be a little bit quieter with your reactions, but I feel like I would have reacted quite heavily to seeing that.
One of those that'll wake you up.
Yeah, good match. 22 minutes apparently. It
didn't feel like that.
I don't know whether I missed sections of it by being awake but actually asleep. But
I'm thinking the same.
didn't fit. It didn't drag on, which sometimes longer matches can tend to do. Neither did the Bad Bunny Damien Priest match. To be fair, that went on longer. That didn't feel like it dragged either. So whoever's been working kind of behind the scenes to plan these matches out definitely kind of got it right.
Yeah,
across all of them. The main thing was the continuing bloodline split story in this. That was the focal point of the end of the match. The Usos super kicking each other and things going wrong. The tag out section, like it was all just to further this story. And as you said, like it keeps giving this storyline. Like you think it's gone a bit stale, and they add Sami Zayn, and they build to that, and you're like, oh, how can it possibly keep going? And it's like, oh, maybe they'll do something. Oh yeah, no, we're gonna get a bloodline implosion story. It is kind of feeling like it's gonna happen. I know we're trying to talk just about Backlash, but what did you think about the announcement on SmackDown for this story?
Bit of a masterstroke, really. I think obviously led to Reigns and Solo Sikoa going for the undisputed tag titles at Clash of Champions. Is that what it's called?
Night of Champions.
Night of Champions. I can never remember. They sort of flip between names over the years. Yeah, I mean, like I say, masterstroke. Obviously teasing towards the breakup of the bloodline. Now, I could be proved wrong, but I think that this has to end at SummerSlam now. There's been talk of it going through to WrestleMania. WrestleMania is a long time.
Do you mean
away.
the bloodline or the title?
All of it in total, all of it. Bloodline split up and the titles off Reigns. I think that has to happen. I don't know how the bloodline split up or when, but I think the call should be Cody winning Money in the Bank, calling his shot at SummerSlam, and then winning it. It's not going to feel as big as if he should have won it at Mania, but I just can't see them stretching it out for yet another year. A lot can happen in a year.
A lot can happen.
A lot can happen in 6 months to SummerSlam.
It's not 6 months to SummerSlam, is it? It's like 4.
Oh, yeah.
Injuries, different, like, people gaining in popularity, losing in popularity can all happen. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I do think it's going to go until Mania, but I think the bloodline will be done before the title reign is. So
it's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, it's definitely still the storyline to watch in WWE. Hopefully there is some developments. Although what's most interesting about that Night of Champions match is that Kevin and Sami are being advertised for a Saudi show.
They are, yeah. I mean, it seems like there's some political stuff in the proper political world that's happened between Syria and Saudi Arabia that may have sort of impacted Sami's views. I don't know too much about it, so I'm obviously not going to comment about it. But yeah, it was a bit of a shock to see the match advertised for that show. I mean, fair play. It's Sami Zayn's prerogative to do whatever Sami Zayn wants, and I'm not anything to say about that. So, no. But yeah, it'll be good. It's going to be a good match for sure. Yeah. Let's talk about the main event of Backlash anyway.
The co-main event.
The co-main event, yeah.
Or the last match on the card after the Bad Bunny Damien Priest match, which we've forgotten to talk a little bit about. We've got to talk about some of the returns.
Oh yeah,
the ridiculous pop for Carlito.
Yeah, man.
Made him feel like Stone Cold Steve Austin.
It really
returned.
Did. Yeah. Savio Vega.
Yeah.
You're trying to think of his name.
I was. It'd gone from my brain for a second. There was definitely a feel that, why didn't this go on last? Why did they put it in kind of the middle of the show? What are they saving for the end? Well, they did have something saved for the end that definitely needed to be kind of the final shot of the show. So I think they got it right in their booking decision about where they put things, because
it's interesting.
Who expected Lesnar to bleed in this match? And to the extent that he did, it wasn't
a little trickle.
It was almost like gross level of bleeding.
When Lesnar gets busted open, Lesnar gets busted open. That's for damn sure. he was pissing out blood.
Yeah.
Like a stuffed pig, as Jim Ross would say.
That is what he would have said.
He like smashed his head against the whatever, I don't know what the technical term is, but that like little bolt thing that's underneath the turnbuckle.
That holds, yeah.
But he probably smashed his head against it. And yeah, man, mad.
Yeah, there was a ridiculous amount of blood, and he didn't need to do it. The match didn't need blood, but it definitely elevated it. And there's obviously so much discussion in the wrestling world about blood in wrestling. AEW lean into it a lot more. WWE has been very against it in recent years, ever since they went PG.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think when used sparingly, it can add stuff. I think if you see it too much, it kind of takes away a little bit. But
it definitely adds something to a match, especially one like this.
Yeah.
And especially one where Lesnar starts bleeding.
Yeah, it definitely had the shock value of what's going on.
It's just that chink in his armour. You're like, oh, he's a human. He's not this like undefeatable beast, in inverted commas, that you can't beat. And Rhodes defeated him clean, essentially. It was a clean win.
Is it a clean win when Lesnar smashes his face into a turnbuckle that Cody sort of exposed? Technically Lesnar exposed it because Cody was holding on to it and he suplexed him and threw it about 50 foot into the air.
Mm.
But I wouldn't. I feel like you could say it was clean, but at the same time, there's definitely, you need to note that Lesnar nearly popped his eye out on the turnbuckle.
I think that's fair. And the interesting thing coming out of it is now they've got a rematch in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
How does that go?
Well, I'm hoping it's not just going to be a singles match, but Lesnar, when he came out on Raw, looking...
Look at my face!
The most terrifying he has ever been in WWE, to be fair. Like, hurt Lesnar is the scariest form of Lesnar.
Yeah.
He said he wanted a fight with Cody Rhodes. So
that's true. Fight pit. That went really well on the main roster last time.
Last man standing, no DQ, no holds barred, whatever. There needs to be a stipulation on it. And that could be a car crash in the best possible way. Who knows what we're going to get, because you never know with a Lesnar match whether you're going to get gold or shit.
He seems to be up for these Cody matches, though.
He does think he's selling like we haven't seen in quite a while for
He's not
Cody.
going to implode his face for anyone.
No.
I think he realises that Cody's like a main event star, and he needs to sort of pull his finger out of his arse and put on a show. And he for sure he's doing that.
He's just been having fun.
Yeah.
And when Lesnar's having fun, you get the best Lesnar possible. So
but that promo that he did as well, really good. Really, really good.
You forget how good he can be because he's normally got a mouthpiece in Paul Heyman.
Yeah. So I guess that's the show done in general. To give it a star rating, what would you give it out of 5?
I'm going 5 on this one.
Yeah.
I've not enjoyed a pay-per-view as much in quite a while, and it's the one I went and watched bits back immediately, not because I'd forgotten what had happened, which sometimes you have to, but just because I wanted to see them.
Yeah,
and,
agreed.
Like, I did the same with like Clash at the Castle because I wanted to see what it was like on TV after we were there, but very rarely am I jumping straight back into a show to kind of rewatch stuff. But this delivered moments, great matches, kind of had a bit of everything.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that one. I'm not going to quite give it my 7 out of 5, but I'd agree. I'd give it a 5. I think it was really good for all the reasons you've just said. So there we go. Yeah. Another successful WWE pay-per-view. They seem to be on a bit of a roll at the minute.
Hopefully they go back to Puerto Rico as well.
Yeah, it would be nice for them to do it sort of annually.
Don't
Backlash be a Puerto Rico thing.
Yeah, don't wait 18 years to go back to WWE.
No, please don't. And that's scary for 2005 to be 18 years ago.
Yeah, I watched that show.
So did I. I remember it quite vividly. Very scary. Anyway, that's been our Backlash review. Thank you all for listening, and over to Damien for the socials.